Aloha, hey, it's Julie Zemelis and Eric Zemelis, and we're here with Lance Owens from Luba Real Estate, and we are bringing you another episode of our 365 Hawaii Real Estate Minute. And today we're going to be talking further about condos, and the little piece that we're going to be adding on is what we're heading into 2021 is some pieces of climate change and the future and how it's affecting everything that's happening here in Hawaii in terms of condos. So we're going to give you some things that you might not know about buying homes here in Hawaii, but also adding a little bit of that like lens of some climate experiences.
There you go.
So
5 tips.
5 tips.
Five
So
tips.
basically 5 tips. And you're going to learn a little bit about fee simple versus leasehold. We're going to be talking a little bit about air conditioning, what your HOAs cover, pets, and also floods, because we live next to the ocean, believe it or not, because we live in Hawaii. So we are going to start with the fee simple versus leasehold talk. So we're going to put that one over to Lance, who has actually been working on real estate here for 30 some odd years.
18 years in real estate. Been living here
36 years. So he's been
18
seeing
years.
that lots of people who are saying, you know what, I think this is a deal. What is this thing called leasehold that they're talking about? So why don't we talk about when they see leasehold, why does it seem like it is less expensive than looking at things called FS or fee simple?
So in Hawaii, there's a lot of land that's been kept where they've kept the ownership under the land itself. They've kept the ownership. And so they've leased it to somebody to build a condo, and they'll typically do 30 years, 50 years, or 100 years is your typical lease. So these people have gone in and built the condos. I think a lot of them, when you go into the investment of building a condo and stuff, it's like 50 years. So it'll be 50 years. But you got to remember, a lot of these condos along Ali'i Drive were built in the 70s and the 80s. So some of these leaseholds are coming to their end. So what happens and what goes on? But real quick, fee simple means you own the land underneath the building. Your complex, you typically have one fee, and it's your maintenance fees that are anywhere from $400 to $1,200 a month is a range that those can run. But when you're a leasehold, somebody else owns the land under it. Now that payment, there's a fixed formula for that payment for the 30 years typically, or 50 years that you have. And it is what's called renegotiated every so many years. And again, that's fixed. And there's a formula in those documents of how they're going to figure it. And it's going to be cost of living and depreciation and appreciation and just everything that's going on, interest rates and things like that. So they'll figure out what that new fee will be, and you know the dates that that's going to happen. And those typically don't get too far out of hand. It's when the lease ends, when it comes to an end, then there's no rules. You know, they can come back.
So there's that one complex there right downtown, Kai. What's the one?
Kona Kai?
Kona Kai.
Yeah,
They're coming to the end.
Makai.
No.
No?
Nope,
Kona Kai.
Kai. It's the
Okay.
one right there. I hope we got this right. Maybe we'll check just to make sure. But they're coming to the end, and they're going to take it down, and they're going to build something new. So, and they're still selling condos right now there. And they're getting pretty cheap by this point, because you're only paying for whatever is
I think
left.
it's 5 years or something, right?
Yeah, it's down. So it's pretty scary.
But you know that going into it is the point.
Yeah,
So you're not surprised at the end of this.
Yeah,
I mean,
you have to sign all the documents.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of them, you know, what's interesting, they always, so I'm not a fan of fee sim or leasehold. You'll probably know that real quickly. But
Because Lance also deals with single family homes that deal with leaseholds.
Leaseholds also.
Yeah.
So in defense of the great man that taught me real estate and got me my license, he, in his classes, he kind of scolded me, and he said, you know what? He goes, these people are getting the land for a lot less than it would have cost them to buy it, and so that fee simple is not that bad. And the fact
Leasehold.
that in the leasehold, but the fact that they can write off the leasehold payment on taxes, you can't write off the other stuff. So when you're paying the leasehold, you have tax benefits. So for some people, that may help them. I don't think for the average person it's a good deal, but there are circumstances where writing off that leasehold payment is good.
Yeah.
And I think one of the if you're thinking about buying a condo that might be leasehold, I think is where does that leasehold, how far out are you when you have to renegotiate is the question, right? And that's the tricky part, because you can't get a loan if it's too close. So that's one of the
Loan. Yeah,
right.
a lot of these are obviously cash only deals.
Yeah, so they'll only loan up to a few years before the lease ends. So let's say they're 17 years lease on the loan, most you can get is a 15-year loan.
Right.
Yep.
If there's 12 years left on it, you can only get a 10-year loan on it. There's 5 years left on it. I don't think they're going to give you a loan.
Right. Well, that's exactly why it's a
Yeah.
cash deal. So
Yeah,
when
cash
you
deal.
think that something is looking like it's, 50% less than all the other condos around Kona, there
Yeah.
probably is going to be because it's a leasehold.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Real bit quick too is one of the things in the 18 years I've been doing this, when interest rates were quite a bit higher, let's just take that $380 a month. So a lot of times, just remember that leasehold fee is separate from your maintenance fee.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So if you've got a $450 a month maintenance fee, a lot of people don't look over to see that there's also on the side there's a leasehold fee.
And how much is that?
It's anywhere from $200 or $300 up to $500 or $600 depending. So I like to divide that on what a fee simple condo would cost you. So when interest rates were 8%, you couldn't get very much land for that, $300 a month. But when it's so cheap right now at 3%, you might as well buy a fee simple.
Yeah.
Because, let's just say, you add another $100,000 on more it would cost you to buy a fee simple condo.
Right.
That's less than that.
But the question is, how many leasehold condos are there in the condo area of Condo?
There's only a few.
Yeah, we're not talking a lot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably name them off. So
that's his way of telling me to shut up about it.
But because some of these people are looking for places where they think that they can find affordable housing on the Big Island.
Yeah.
How many, if you know, do you know how many maybe leasehold condo complexes are in East Hawaii?
I don't think there's very many there either.
Okay.
I don't know that answer. I don't.
Okay. So what you'll find, I think, in general, is the leasehold is more in terms of farmland and some of the bigger parcels of land around the island.
Yeah.
So when you see LS, it's leasehold, and FS is fee simple.
FS, yeah.
But they both, that's how it all runs.
Yes.
Is that they have a level of how many years until it runs out, and then you have to renegotiate what it's going to be after that.
Yes.
Okay, so that's for all of you guys looking in that also might be looking at homes in general on the Big Island, that applies for everything.
You should definitely watch out for that. Yeah,
principle.
usually it's the agricultural properties that are leasehold, and but you go, why is that half the price of the one next to it?
Right. Why is that beautiful house sitting on 5 acres so cheap? Well, it's leasehold.
There you go.
So, and then just so you know, if I'm right on this one, when you buy a big piece of property when it's leasehold, they also usually want to see a farm plan.
Yes.
And you got to figure out how you're going to make money on that land, because that part of that goes back to the landholder, which is usually
they
Bishop
want a
Estates.
percentage of your farm. Not only do they want the leasehold rent for the land, they want a percentage of your profits, and they want to come inspect your farm. I think it's every year to make sure
that you're growing something is actually
you're growing
viable.
it. You're not. It's not turning into a chemical stockpile of old oil tanks or something like that. They want to go walk the property and make sure that it's being used, is what you're saying. So.
Right. Okay.
They'll have a walkthrough inspection scheduled. And I think it's once a year. I stay away from leasehold everything. I do condos sometimes on complexes that got long leases, because in all honesty, in a condo you really don't hardly own your dirt anyways. You own it with the 200 other owners.
Right.
But if it's any time close to coming to an end, then I
Don't do it.
yeah, leave
Okay.
it alone. Leave it alone.
Okay. So that's be simple.
That's it.
Leasehold. So okay. So in terms of, let's go towards HOA fees, guys. And since Eric at this moment knows a heck of a lot of what's going on with HOA fees, because he's been the president of the property manager or general manager at a condo complex before transitioning to real estate full time. Yay! Let's talk about what HOAs are and what does it cover.
Well, the HOAs are generally all the expenses you would have there. You've got your you've got insurance. General insurance is not individual insurance. A lot of complexes also require that you have a specific. Let's see if I get this right. Oh my gosh. A specific addendum on the insurance policy to make sure that it covers, because the master policy only brings it back to what it was built when it was originally built, which now is a long time ago. So it's not a lot of money for doing that. Some of the other things, of course, is trash and cable, and also the amenities. You get your pools and all those kinds of things. Landscaping and all those items. So, roofs, yeah, everything outside the complex. I mean, everything outside of your condo is covered by the HOAs.
Right. And then we were talking about, so HOAs, homeowners association fees that you are responsible for every single month in terms of what it's on top of what your mortgage is, right? And just in general, between the two of you guys, can you let people know kind of what's the general HOA fees if you're here along the coast near the water in Kona?
Well, I think the cheapest I've ever heard was up at Waikoloa, and it was somewhere around 300.
Yeah,
right?
but that's not Oceanside.
Okay, all right. For
Oceanside.
Oceanside, I'm going to say probably I'm going to guess somewhere around 500 would be my guess to start.
I think even higher, but yeah. So you're going to be 600 to 1,100 easily.
Yeah. And your fees are determined on the size of the condo that you have. So, example, and the square footage is weird because some condos are built differently, so they would have a different fee than it would be if it was a smaller one. I mean, it's not like all one bedrooms are the same. Sometimes they have small one bedrooms and big one bedrooms, and a bigger one they're done by square footage.
And let me just throw something in there from the real estate side of that. Is I've had someone that couldn't get we got into escrow on a unit because we'd been looking at others in there, and they're like, "Oh, look at this end unit! I love this end unit. I want to get it." Well, the end unit had another 30 or 40 extra square feet because of the way it went around the corner, and they had a wraparound lanai that went around the corner. They charge you for the square footage of that lanai too. So that particular unit, it was another $100 a month in HOA fees because of all that extra square footage.
But you get that corner unit. That's the thing.
Corner unit, yeah. And you can't put nothing out in that lanai. They nail you for putting your bike out there or your surfboard or things like that.
And don't hang your towels over the edge.
So he turned out, well, that person couldn't get the loan because that extra $100 took them out of that price point. So, but if you're paying cash or something like that, you're paying a lot. For area that you end up not being able to use. I don't know what you're going to use it for, but
having massive parties with all your friends out there in like Oceanside, woohoo.
When I moved to Hawaii in 1984, moved into a studio, and the guy gave me the bedroom, and he slept in he had a bed out on that wraparound lanai. We had a wraparound lanai, he had a bed out there, and he lived out there in that lanai.
Wow.
And we shared the bathroom, and that was it.
I don't think you get away with that these days, but
yeah, they don't want you living out there in your lanai. But one of the things, and again, I'm always playing devil's advocate on this one, is the fact that that salt air likes to eat up lanais.
Well, likes to eat up everything.
Right?
Forget about lanai.
Yeah,
okay,
let's talk about that. So let's talk about maintenance. Because if you guys are coming from the mainland and you don't know what's going on with the oxidation due to the salt water, there's a saltwater intrusion experience that happens up and down the entire coast, and it affects just even living here. So talk a little bit about that.
So generally, what you could say is that things last half as long as they do on the mainland, whether it be paint, whether it be appliances, whether it be plumbing, all that. Just take everything and cut it in half, and that gives you an idea. So it really does, and it's a constant battle, of course, trying to keep everything working fine.
And it's expensive.
Well, that translates into higher HOA fees. I mean, you know what I mean?
And everything's so electronic these days. Your TVs, your stereos, your toasters, everything. Your refrigerator.
Your cars.
So it used to be that, example, your washer was all mechanical. And none of those lasted 25 years. It wasn't a problem. And now they had one in there when we were living in the condo. Then we bought the new spin dry electronic. Lasted a year and a half, and then it had to get redone. So always, if you're going to buy appliances, always buy the extended warranty. That's the other little tip for today. On that one.
I'm going to do a little demo here too. I've seen ceiling fans in units where the ocean comes in like this. This entire side of the ceiling fans rust, and the leeward side of the fan is perfectly fine. So you would think it's circulating around in the whole room and it's all equal, and it's not, because you have a constant ocean breeze. And it hits this side and wraps around, and this side's clean and good, and this side's rusty.
But even just a little, even go a little further. I've seen units where the ocean comes in, and every single thing is salt covered. You know what I mean? Your couches, your tables, you just kind of wipe it off, and it kind of feels like a gritty, oily mess, is what it is. But it's all salt.
Yeah.
So interesting. So just something to be aware of when you start thinking. Because it's really nice to live right on the ocean.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's not. But also, cat's attacking a gecko, got a little tail there. But one of the things too that the salt water does is it might affect your HOA fees. So we were talking about climate change. So we're talking about the fact that it is very warm next to the ocean, and that there are days where it can be 87 degrees.
A lot of days, yeah. Summer,
right?
Right.
Like right now, it's warm and humid. And how does that affect your internal, comfortability of your own life? But also if you're thinking about buying a condo so that you can rent it out to somebody else, most times people want air conditioning in their units, right?
Especially now, and a lot of the units were built back in the 70s, which they love the warm island breezes. And I wonder if we could say that maybe with global warming, that it's a little hotter than it used to be back in the old days. But it is definitely makes a difference. And so these units are hot, so now we get into air conditioning, and so some units have air conditioning, but that's a newer thing. I would say, I don't know. Do you know how many?
The older units don't have them.
Yeah,
a lot of units do not have them. It's not an option.
So, give an example where I am. We are approving air conditioning, and they're talking about putting in a split system, which of course is great. But then they also have to go through a permitting process, which is rather lengthy and difficult to go through. And the end result of it is about $15,000 to put in an air conditioning system for a condo, so it makes it you have to ask, wow, is that
so if
really
there's a
worth
tip
it?
here to give you guys. Ooh, as the sun's coming in,
Yeah, certainly.
ask your realtor to ask the HOA and the board of directors, whoever they need to ask,
And make
what's the
sure
story, right?
to add a little more to this too, because building codes have changed, and they're trying to actually adjust this because they're trying, to lower our carbon footprint. What they're requesting people to do is to update windows. So now you just want an AC unit in your complex, and that's all you want. Well, when you go to get the permit for it, they're like, well, you've got the old jealousy windows because everybody in Hawaii just opened their windows and lived off of the ocean breezes. Now you want AC; those aren't efficient. Your AC is going to be running twice as much, creating a bigger carbon footprint on the world. And
doors too,
doors.
single pan doors, and even talking maybe potentially insulation inside the roofs involved.
So it's one big mess.
Yeah, it's domino.
But but then again, most renters want AC, so it's kind of one of those. Depending, if you live here, you kind of get used to it. It's not terribly bad, but it is hot. I mean, depending on that, we go back to elevation makes a big difference. I think we concluded here around 5 degrees cooler. We're at 800 feet than we are down at sea level.
Right.
For what it is.
And I always go back to someone sold us a bill of goods when we moved into Keauhou and didn't tell us that was one of the hottest places you can live in the entire Hawaiian Island chain. So if heat is an issue, and again, if it's not you personally, but if you're buying one of those condos because you want vacationers to be there, people are very heat sensitive and they will pay more for air conditioning. And if you don't have air conditioning, there's a lot of people who won't stay in your condo. So it is a concept, right?
Yeah.
So that's that one. And then also in terms of, we were talking about one of your HOA fees, this actually covers flood insurance. And so now with rising sea, experiences.
There's something I haven't heard in a long, that I never heard earlier until it's become more obvious now. It's called a king tide. And I never, was that, how long, when did that come about?
I just heard about it the last year or two.
Yeah,
myself.
you're like, king tide, what the heck? But
I've been here 37 years.
Yeah, we didn't have that in 2005. So.
But I was there last year. I was downtown at King Tide, and it went all the way. The pier was like 6 inches from the top of the pier, and that's like normally 4 or 5 feet down, and it was amazing. So
and the ocean came up and actually went through the park at Old Airport, and it was putting the ocean water onto the runway. So that's, they call it nuisance flooding now every month.
Oh.
So just again,
so now you're talking about these oceanfront condos that if you're on the first and second floor, depending on what it is, put some wave action on top of this king tide, and you can definitely. I've heard of cases where they've broken the windows and smashed everything into the front. So it's something else that you want to sort of keep in mind that the world is a changing.
Right. So getting that oceanfront condo right on the ocean, we're just telling you guys, give it a little,
be aware, be conscious of that. And one thing I was going to throw in, something that. I'm on the State Board of Realtors, and something that just passed that we've been conscious of and working on, and actually working with legislators on getting this done, but they're coming out with a new disclosure form for oceanfront properties. And it's we're going to have to take a client to the projections of what they think global warming and tide changes are going to do. So,
and it puts it out 25 years.
I don't know how many years it puts it out. It's all kind of new. It is there. I think we can tap into that website now that will do the interactive on it. It will be a mandatory form in the upcoming. It was passed, and so it will be a mandatory form. I just forget how long we have till it comes out.
I think it sounds like a great idea because a lot of people don't have an idea what's happening.
Yeah, just give you an idea of what's going on. I believe disclosure.
Right, yeah. And also ask for the disclosures.
Yeah.
Let's talk real quick about pets. So what I am seeing, because I run my, 2 or 3 different kinds of groups, So many people think that they're going to come here with their pets.
We saw that today. I got 2 labs. I'm bringing them over.
Yeah, and just if you guys are specifically, and what we're also seeing is that people are trying to go into condos because they think it's an affordable way to live here in Hawaii, but they still think they're going to bring their big fat dogs. And so, we talk about the fact that our island is not the most pet friendly. It's just not, and it's just there's different condo complexes that have pet regulations, right? Mm-hmm. But they usually want smaller animals.
Yep.
So what's the story with that?
So, I big, and we're talking to a guy, 2 dogs, 2 cats, and 3 horses. I'm a pet person, so it's a least pet friendly person I think on the planet is the Big Island here, and it's just very, very, very difficult. In a lot of them, well, not a lot of them, a lot of them just purely don't even allow it, so forget it. But the ones that do allow it are usually by board approval. So you want somebody that has experience in that complex and kind of knows what that board is looking for, what they're doing. 2 labs coming in to 99.9% of the places here are never going to be approved.
Right. Yeah.
So 2 dogs, period, are going to have a hard time being approved, even at 25 pounds. 1 dog, I've seen them where you can get medium to kind of large. I'll let 1 dog come in. And there may be 2. I mean, but it's a lot of it's board approval, and you got to get with them and get the approval.
So how many complexes, percentage-wise, do you think allow pets?
I think there's 220 down on Lee Drive, I think, and I think 17 allow pets or something.
What, 10% roughly?
Well, and also there's the Pines. The Pines allows pets. Mm-hmm. Right. So the Pines, if you guys want to look into that, it's kind of like a planned unit development that acts like an HOA, but it actually sits like a single family homes almost. They have pets. And I think it's still though. There's 15 pounds or something.
Kona Coffee Villas, they allow 2 dogs. Again, you got to get your dog. You got to go get a DNA test for your dog. And if they find excessive poop in an area, they're going to send it in. And if it's your dog, you're going to pay for that test. And you're probably
you get fined too. On top
of that.
Yeah. So just know before coming here and you're bringing Fido that there is basically almost a liability almost on bringing pets here. So okay, so then we hit the flood. Mm-hmm.
We hit the pets. Mm-hmm. We hit the temperature. We hit the feature. We hit it.
Yeah,
the sun's coming down on our face.
Yeah, it's like talk about
timing. Yeah,
it's so funny because of climate change. Whatever. Usually, it's becoming more of a rainy experience in the afternoon, and of course, we pick the day that it's like, ooh, it's going to be hot.
Yeah.
So, so we just want to give you guys the update about what's happening here. We're giving you guys the truth. If you want to learn more about the different kinds of compound complexes, please reach out to us. Eric sells real estate now.
He's done several.
And there should be on the same channel too.
Yeah, so you guys can look at other people's views on what's happening. This one is the most updated, obviously, in July of 2020 because we're adding that again that lens of how is the world changing, how is that going to affect oceanside properties. So make sure that when you decide to buy something, again, I'm just going to say it. When we stayed at Kona Bali Kai, I could not believe how loud it was with the ocean pounding next door. So your romanticized views of living right on the ocean might be something different. So make sure that you stay in a place before you decide to buy it. But the key is that obviously you want to use a good realtor. We have a complete awesome realtor referral network, including Lance Owens, and reach out to us.
About 5 or 6 of us, I think, on there.
Yeah, so we got people in Waikoloa, we got people in North Hawaii, we got people in Hilo, we got people in South Kona, we got people here.
Other islands too.
And other islands. We can help you guys refer out to all the different islands. Go to movetohawaii365.com, join our 365 Ohana, and we do amazing things for you, like pick you up from the airport and give you a really inexpensive rental car for you to be able to be here while you're looking for homes. And also, one of the things that we also offer is opportunities for community, where we have monthly events. We have them here at this house. You guys get the ocean view. We also have the Condo Newbies group and the Hilo Newbies group, so you guys get community, so you can actually tap into the knowledge of other people who have actually made it happen for themselves living here. So stay tuned. We keep bringing the information to you, and subscribe if you haven't yet already, and follow us at the 365 Konas. I'm moving to the Big Island of Hawaii and buying a home group. Contact us and learn how you can join that group. So, aloha, and thanks to you, Lance, for being here with us.
Thank you guys. Thank you for asking.
All right.
Okay.
Aloha.
Aloha.